佢俾我一個認可嘅資歷。
有毅進文憑，我可以繼續升學。
我揾到中意嘅工作，
喺工作上發揮所長。
毅進文憑課程接受報名啦！
讀完毅進文憑，可以得到相當於香港中學文憑考試
5科第2級成績嘅資歷，包括中英文。
我可以喺網上睇清楚課程資料，然後報名。
毅進文憑，我找到我的路。
The US has sharply criticized Russia for allowing intelligence whistleblower Edward Snowden to meet human rights activists at a Moscow airport.
Snowden is still looking for a safe haven from US attempts to extradite him, but has accepted temporary asylum in Russia until he can reach one of the Latin American countries that has agreed to take him in. In his first encounter with the outside world since becoming stranded at Moscow Sheremetyevo airport 3 weeks ago, Edward Snowden met Russian rights activists, lawyers and pro-Kremlin politicians. In this amateur footage, Snowden tells them he had no regrets and had made a moral decision to spill details of a top-secret US cyber-spying program, which included hacking computers on the mainland and in Hong Kong for many years.
A little over 1 month ago, I had a family, a home in paradise, and I lived in great comfort. I also had the capability, without any warrant of law, to search for, seize, and read your communications. Anyone's communications at any time. That is the power to change people's fates. It is also a serious violation of the law.
The 30-year-old former US government contractor is still looking for a safe haven from Washington's attempts to extradite him. But he did confirm that he's seeking asylum in Russia as a short-term solution, as he hopes to later make his way to Venezuela, Nicaragua or Bolivia, which have offered to take him in.
I believe that the legal means to stay in Russia safely, to attempt to move to Latin America, is to request asylum in the Russian Federation. I can only at this time formally accept, or I suppose legally accept, asylum in Russia because of the limitations on my ability to travel.
The Kremlin has insisted that if he is to stay, he must agree to stop leaking secrets in his possession, which Snowden said he has no problem with. Washington warned Russia to hand him over to face spy charges for spilling US national security secrets.
They still have the opportunity to do the right thing and return Mr. Snowden to the United States, and that's what our hope is.
The White House made it clear that granting even temporary amnesty to Snowden would run counter to Moscow's assurances that it did not want the affair to damage US-Russia relations.
Providing a propaganda platform for Mr. Snowden runs counter to the Russian government's previous declarations of Russia's neutrality, and that they have no control over his presence in the airport.
US President Barack Obama and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin discussed Snowden during a pre-planned phone call, but the White House did not release details of the conversation. Only a photo, it said, was taken at the time. Snowden has no travel documents, so he's hoping Russia accepts his asylum bid so he can then work out a way to travel legally to Latin America.
I'm pretty sure that he's not exactly having a ball here at Sheremetyevo airport. He's been stuck here for a long time. He looks all right. He says that his living conditions are okay, but again, he cannot stay here indefinitely.
I advise him to ask for passage in Office of High Commissioner for Refugees at the United Nations or somewhere else. So the odyssey is being continued.
That odyssey could take Snowden to any of the 21 countries that he has applied to for asylum, as he's announced he's willing to go to any place that will have him.
I announce today my formal acceptance of all offers of support or asylum I have been extended and all others that may be offered in the future.
Despite the attempts by Washington and the US media to portray Snowden as a traitor, most Americans see him as a hero. Recent polls show there has been a major swing in the public's opinion since Obama came to power, with most people now believing that it's not worth sacrificing their liberty for the sake of the government's questionable anti-terrorism programs. Officials in Guangdong province have bowed to public pressure and cancelled plans to build a uranium plant.
The sudden U-turn was made after protesters flooded the streets of Hershan City yesterday and called for the government to scrap it. It was victory for residents of Hershan City after the government made the surprising announcement. Mayor Yeung told reporters that the local government will not apply for approval for a project to build a nuclear fuel processing plant there. Wu said the government has scrapped the project because of opposition from the residents, and authorities respect the public's views. Many residents welcomed the move. It's good news because it will do less harm to everyone. We don't want to put our lives at risk, said this woman. While this resident said it's a sigh of relief for everyone, especially for the future generations. The sudden U-turn came after more than 1,000 protesters took to the streets yesterday and expressed their concerns about radiation from the uranium plant. The city in Guangdong province is about 120 kilometers northwest of Hong Kong. Authorities were planning to build a 230-hectare plant to carry out uranium conversion, enrichment and fuel fabrication. Time now for sports with Raymond Yeung.
And what's the latest on the Tour de France?
Well, Mark Cavendish has earned his second stage victory. It was a timely return to form for Cavendish, who has also racked up his 25th stage win of his career.
Crosswinds challenged riders on the 173-kilometer stage 13 of the Tour de France from Tours to Saint-Amand-Mulhouse. Led by former champion Alberto Contador, the Saxo Tinkoff team broke away from the peloton 30 kilometers from the finish. Overall leader Chris Froome was stuck in the pack and failed to close the gap with the leaders. But his compatriot Mark Cavendish made a late charge on the home straight to take the stage in 3 hours 40 minutes. Froome kept his yellow jersey, but the Team Sky rider saw his lead slashed by more than 1 minute. Cavendish collected his second win this year and 25th overall, the third most in the Tour's history.
In other sport news, Chelsea boss Jose Mourinho believes he's become a better manager after his return to the London club. And history was made at a vintage car auction in England, where a 1954 Mercedes-Benz was sold for a record $30 million.
Wayne Rooney might be missing, but that didn't dampen the moods of football fans in Bangkok, as thousands turned up to see Rio Ferdinand, Ryan Giggs and other Manchester United stars take part in a training session. The English champions drew cheers with every move on the pitch, as they warmed up for the first game on their 3-week Asia tour against Thailand's All-Stars tonight. Rooney's departure just hours after touching down in Bangkok has led to fears he sustained a major injury, but manager David Moyes didn't seem worried.
Unfortunately, he just felt something in his hamstring. We double-checked it and he's got a slight grade 1 injury there, which will probably keep him out for about 2 to 3 weeks. So I don't foresee any problem of Wayne starting the season and being fit for the start of the season.
The Scottish successor to Alex Ferguson again denied rumours that the star striker is for sale.
Well, unless I was speaking double Dutch, I think we said Wayne Rooney's not for sale.
But his reassurance didn't stop Chelsea manager Jose Mourinho from expressing an interest in the Englishman.
He's a player that I like very, very much, but I cannot say more than that. Being fast and direct, I like him very much, but he's a Man United player.
The Portuguese, who's also in Bangkok for Chelsea's Asian tour, feels that he's become a better manager over the years. The Europa League champions will also visit Malaysia and Indonesia in the coming weeks. Local favourite Stefan Bado was in blistering form after the practice session of the German MotoGP. The Honda rider clocked a time of 1 minute 22 seconds around the Sachsenring circuit. Yamaha rider Jorge Lorenzo was close behind in second, but the Spaniard had to withdraw from the race weekend as he injured his collarbone following a crash landing, his second in 2 weeks. Fellow Spaniard and current championship leader Dani Pedrosa finished third. While supercars often have price tags that most ordinary people can't afford, this 59-year-old Mercedes-Benz is off limits even for some millionaires. Driven by 5-time Formula One champion Juan Manuel Fangio, the car was auctioned in England overnight, and the result was jaw-dropping.
We've just witnessed history in the making. We sold the 1954 Mercedes-Benz W196 Grand Prix car, the car that was driven by Fangio, for a new world auction record price, and it sold for a premium inclusive price of $19,601,500, which was about $29,500,000.
The 2.5-litre straight-eight racer propelled Argentine Fangio to 5 championship-clinching wins and was retired to the Carmakers Museum in Stuttgart in 1954. With such an amount of money splashed, it's no wonder the winning bidder chose to remain anonymous.
Look at the weather before we go. The subsiding air surrounding Typhoon Solik brought very hot weather to Hong Kong today. Temperatures varied between 28.4 and 33.5 degrees, while the relative humidity was between 66 and 88%. Winds were moderate south to southwesterlies, fresh offshore at times. Let's check on the ultraviolet reading. The maximum recorded for the day was 9. Tomorrow's UV index will be around 9 as well. Let's take a look at the weather in the region. A little earlier, Typhoon Solik was centered about 450 kilometers east of Nanchang and is forecast to move northwest across Fujian province. And moving on to the satellite images. Spiral cloud bands brought about by Solik are affecting southeastern China. Here's what we can expect over the next few days. Showers tomorrow with sunny intervals during the day. Temperatures will range between 27 and 32 degrees. More of the same on Monday, and the mercury will reach 31 degrees, becoming cloudy with showers midweek but brightening up again from Thursday. Now for tomorrow's air pollution levels. General stations will be medium to very high at 30 to 105, and roadside pollution levels will be high to very high at 70 to 105. And finally, here's the weather around the world.
That's our main news for Saturday night. We'll have an update in 1 hour. I'm Edna.
I'm Raymond.
And I'm Anne Sim. Thanks for watching ATV. Good night.
Good night.
跟住落嚟係日語大放送。2013每週感動人物好人好事一一呈現，潘嘉琪、伍醫生將愛成全，義補助孩童。黎港新愛心老闆為基層免費搬屋。凌浩雲捨棄8萬年薪擔任社企顧問。何光熙免費教孩子譜出動人樂章。中國人壽海外呈現 ATV 2013感動香港周人物推選，星期日晚9點半亞洲台。